Good day, grade 12 learners, and welcome to today's accounting lesson. This lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. It is a lovely day again to have you in my class, and thank you for joining in this session. Today is going to be a very interesting lesson. Last week, I dealt with ledger accounts. We opened several ledger accounts, your ordinary share capital account. We did your SARS income tax. We even did the dividends accounts. And in today's class, we're going to go a bit further. I'm going to be looking at certain notes. Here are my objectives in today's class. I'm going to do the ordinary share capital note, which is your note number 7. Your note number 7. I'm going to do the retained income note. That is your note number 8. I will also look at majority shareholding. Okay, let's go on. To begin with, in the previous week, as I said, I dealt with ledger accounts, and I was able to show you how to move from an ordinary share capital account, a ledger account, onto the ordinary share capital note, that is your note number 7. And we did a number of activities. So if you're still struggling with your ledger accounts, please do go and watch last week's class, because that class will help you to understand even from the concepts, because I introduced last week's class from the concepts. And so to begin today's class, I'm going to be opening certain notes. I hope to do note number 7, note number 8. I have quite a number that I have here with me. So make sure you have your calculator, you have your pencil, pen, you have somewhere to write. And your teacher must have given you the answer book. Okay, so there's a worksheet that was released. Make sure you have that worksheet, because it will help you to understand where the information is coming from and how we can better answer these questions. So there is a worksheet, as I said last week. Please, if you have not received it, just talk to your teacher and then they can send it to you. It can be an electronic version or it can be a printed version, but make sure you have the worksheet. Okay, let's go on. So the first activity, which is activity number 1, is from the Free State Prelim for the year 2023. Let's see what they have for us. So here we're given the retained income, and you have your income after tax. And in this question, we are required to prepare the retained income note. Okay, so this is our retained income note. So opening note number 8. We're going to start off with note number 8, our retained income note. And here is the retained income note. It begins off with balance at the beginning of the year. And you can see here, we were given the amount in the balance sheet accounts section. So you have to know that your retained income note, later we're going to use amounts from there to prepare financial statements, as I promised you that in next week's class, I'm going to start financial statements. So here I need to have an amount that is the balance at the beginning of the year for my retained income. And I do have 1,682,458. So I'm going to bring it here. Balance at the beginning of the year, that's my 1,682,458. That is what I have so far there. And then I am given this information. And that information reads that income tax is calculated at 30% of the net profit before tax. And the net profit after tax was calculated as 422,450. So what we want here is net profit after tax. Very important for you to know that in here we record net profit after tax. So I'm going to come here and it's going to be 422,450 net profit after tax. Net profit after tax. Okay, so I think we're going to move on to the next aspect now. Let's do so. Let's go on to our next calculation. All right, so we are given here information that has to do now with share capital, because we know that after we have our balance at the beginning, we're going to have net profit after tax. What comes after this? It's going to be repurchase of shares. So the next thing that comes here is repurchase of shares. And I am going to open bracket so that I can put the amount in there on the repurchase of shares. But for me to understand this better, I must be able to calculate certain amounts. So even though in this question, I am going to do note number 8, I will still do note number 7 with you, such that you guys can see how to prepare your ordinary share capital account and relate it to your retained income. Is that okay? Okay, so if that is okay, let's go on and do it. Remember, in this particular question, it was not required. This is just me and you saying, okay, let's do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to do my ordinary share capital note here. All right, so here's my ordinary share capital note. Okay, so we're talking note number 7 over here. Let's hear what they say. Share capital consists of 2 million issued shares. All right, so they say the share capital consists of 2 million issued shares. 1.2 of these shares were issued in 2019 at 4 rand each, and the rest were issued at 6 rand each at the beginning of the year. All right, so it means I can come here and say, of the 2 million that is in issue, 1.2 million were issued in 2019, and these were ordinary shares issued at 4 rand each. That's what they're saying. They were issued at 4 rand each. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to now say, where's my calculator? There you are. So it's my 1.2 million, like that, and then each share is at 4 rand. That is going to give me 4.8 million. So I'll come here, I have my 4.8 million over there. And then the rest of the shares, how much is the rest of the shares? Out of the 2 million, I've issued 1.2 million. So it means I'll say my 2 million, which I have in issue, I have issued 1.2 at the big from the previous year. So that means I then issued, the rest is the 800,000. So 800,000 shares were issued now at the beginning of the year, and they were issued at 6 rand. So these are ordinary shares that were issued at 6 rand. So I would then come here and I'll say these 800,000 were issued at 6 rand. That will give me now 4.8 million. Okay, 4.8 million, like that now. So I know that once I have a second issue, I must calculate what is known as average price. So let's see. I'll calculate my average price, and I have my triangle here already, because I know the next thing that is coming is the repurchase of shares. So I will come here and I'll say my 4.8 plus my 4.8. So I'm adding the first two amounts there. I already have another 4.8 here. So I'm going to say plus 4.8 million again. That is going to give me 9.6 million. So I have 9.6 million, which I have received from the issue of shares. I divide that by my shares in issue, which is my 1.2 and the 800,000. That gives me 2 million. So I divide that by my 2 million over there, like that. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say 9.6 divided by 2 million. And that is going to give me 4.80. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, here I have 4.80. That is my average price. So I'm going to come to this side of the triangle. Here I'm going to say ordinary share capital. That is my average price. Okay. And that is 4.80. At the top part, I'm going to have my repurchase price. And my repurchase price is what we have bought back shares here at. That is my 7 rand 30. 7 rand 30, as you can see there. Okay, so I'm going to come now and I'm going to now say, if I say 7 rand 30, then I say minus 4 rand 80. That is going to give me an amount that is 2 rand 50. So I have my retained income, which is 2 rand 50. Now, where do we record the retained income? Remember, we record the amount above. Others say more. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to have my brackets open already here. And I'm going to now say, how many shares were repurchased? It is 12,000 shares. So I'm going to have my 12,000 here, repurchased at, and I'm going to show my average price, which is 4 rand 80. So it's going to be 12,000 shares, and they're being repurchased. In the ordinary share capital, I'm going to record my 4 rand 80, and that is going to give me 57,600. So I'm going to have my 57,600. And the 2 rand 50 is going to come here now, where I'll say 12,000 shares repurchased, and the amount that we paid above the average price is 2 rand 50. So in here, I need the amount above. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say my 12,000, then I multiply that by my 2 rand 50, and that is going to give me my total, which is 30,000. I have that in bracket there, 30,000. So I can complete my ordinary share capital here because I just need the balance at the bottom. Let's do that together since we're already here. So I'm going to say my 1.2 million plus 800, that is 2 million. So 2 million minus 12,000. Let's punch that together. Okay, so we're going to say 2 million subtract 12,000. 2 million subtract 12,000. That is going to give me 1,988,000. So here I have my 1,988,000. This is ordinary shares at the end. In terms of capital, I know that I have the 9.6, so I'm just going to subtract the 57.6. So I'm going to say, in terms of the amount, it's going to be 9.6 million minus your 57,600, and that is going to give me 9 million. Let's bring it back again. That is 9,542,400. 9,542,400. Then we have done our ordinary share capital account as well as our retained income part, which pertains to the repurchase of shares. Very important that you know how to do those calculations. Okay, so if you did not understand this, please, you can still rewatch this video after today's lesson. You can still go back to it and see what I was doing, because this is a very common question. Examiners love testing on the retained income and the ordinary share capital. This is something that you might see in the March test, that you might see in the June exam prelim, and hopefully in the final as well. So I would encourage you to practice and study on this aspect over here. Can we move on then? Okay, let's do that then. All right, so what you then see here is a continuation of the retained income. Now we are going to do our interim dividends. Okay, so in this particular question, they did not give us a particular percentage that we were to use to calculate interim dividends. Rather, they gave us dividends in the balance sheet, statement of financial position. And these dividends, rather, let me take that back. These dividends were in the trial balance. These dividends are in the trial balance. They're in the trial balance, not the balance sheet. They're in the trial balance. These dividends are in the trial balance. In the trial balance, we have two sections. In the trial balance, we have two sections. We have the balance sheet accounts section and we have the nominal accounts section. So once you see dividends in the nominal account section of your trial balance, not what I said earlier on. In the trial balance, once you see dividends in the nominal account section of your trial balance, those dividends are interim dividends. I'm going to say it again. When you look at your trial balance, you know trial balance. When you look at your trial balance and you see dividends in there, in the nominal account section, that is your interim dividends. But if you see dividends in the balance sheet account section, in most cases, you would see that they'll be written shareholders. They'll be written shareholders for dividends. These are your final dividends. So take note of that. Once you see dividends in the nominal section of your trial balance, it's interim. Once you see dividends in the balance sheet account section, that is your final dividends, your shareholders for dividends. So here we're given dividends 21.6. Automatically that becomes our interim dividend then. So I'm going to come here, it's 21,600 over there like that. Okay, I think that makes sense. Can I move on to the next one? Let's do that. Okay, so what we're left with now is to calculate our final dividends. So here we're going to come here and we're going to say final dividends. Final dividends. Okay, so some in other classes they would call them declared, still very correct. Okay, so we are told a final dividend of 2 cents per share was declared on 20th February. The shares repurchased do not qualify for dividends declared. So it simply means out of the 2 million that were in issue, the shares repurchased, which is the 12,000, do not qualify. The examiner has already told us that it is only the shares in issue, all right, that can qualify. The shares on the share register. The shares that we've repurchased will not qualify. That simply means I'll say my 2 million shares which were in issue, then we buy back 12,000 shares. We want to know how many shares are there now that we are going to give 2 cents per share. And the moment they say the shares repurchased do not qualify, that means I must exclude those shares when I calculate my final dividend. So I'm going to say out of my 2 million, is that 2 million? Yes, that's 6 zeros, minus 12,000, like that. Then I'm going to have my 1,988,000. So I have my 1,988,000. And of this now, we're going to give a dividend of 2 cents, per share. Okay? So it simply means I'm going to come here and I'm going to say that multiplied by 2 cents. All right? I multiply that by 2 cents. And then let me just come here and I'm going to say here to show the calculation. It's 1,988,000. 1,988,000. Then I multiply that by 0.02, like that. And then that is now going to give me 39,760. 39,760. That becomes my final dividend. And once I have my final dividend, I know that I must add these two amounts and bring it here at the top. So it's my 21.6 plus 39,760. Please have your calculators close. Can I see them? Thank you. How much you get here now? How much do you get if you say 21.6 plus 39,760? Okay, you are saying let's do it together. I don't mind. Let's do it together then. Plus 21,600. That is going to give me 61,360. 61,360. Like that. That is my dividends, which therefore brings us to the next activity. But here, if you wanted to conclude it, you would have just calculated your balance here. Let's do it together. So here I'm going to get my balance at the end then. My balance at the end here. So we're just adding from the top going all the way down. And if you do that, you're going to end up with 2,013,548. 2,013,548. That is how we end our retained income. Balance at the beginning, net profit after tax, repurchase of shares, amount above, your dividends, interim and final, then you get your balance right at the end. Okay, you already saw the next activity that I'm going to do with you, so we might as well just start it. Okay, let's do it then. Here it is. This is from the KZN prelim for the year 2024. Okay, let's see what they had for us here. Let's see what they had for us. Required, prepare the retained income note. So it's more or less the same thing. In the previous one, did you see that I was able to do two notes, note 7 and note 8? That one was a bit easy, simple. Okay, now complications. It did not cause us much challenges. Okay, but let's see what the next activity is going to bring us. Okay, let's see what is in the KZN prelim paper. You ready? Let's do it then. Here is more information that we're given. We can see question marks already. That means this one, let's see how it's gonna go. Okay, all right, let's see. There is your dividends information, your interim together with your final dividends. Okay, so we're here and we want to do the retained income over there. Okay, so I need your pen to be very active. I need you to be writing. Okay, when I say something and as I write it together with me. As I explain something, please, if you want to stop me, you can say, Mr. Simbi, please repeat, and I'll do so, okay? So that you can understand exactly where I'm coming from and why I would be saying certain things. Where do we start? Balance at the beginning. So how much is the balance? 386,040. That was not much of a problem. Okay, what comes next? Yes, the next thing is your net profit. Net profit. Can I ask you a question? Is it net profit before tax or after tax? Which one is it? Is it before tax or after tax? Certainly, it is net profit after tax. Net profit after tax. Okay, so on my net profit after tax, where is that now? So here I'm given my net profit before tax, which is 846,540. That's before tax. Then I am given my income tax here. That means I can subtract income tax out of the net profit before tax to get net profit after tax. So I'm coming here to say minus here 253,290, like that. 253,290. Calculators ready, guys. Calculators ready. Calculators ready. Let's see. That's how much? That is your 846. That's A46 here. 540. Correct? Minus 253,290. That will give us 593,250. 593,250. That's my net profit after tax. That means I got the net profit before tax. I subtracted my income tax to get the after tax. We good? All right, let's go. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to record now my repurchase of shares. Repurchase of shares. Let's see. Shareholders shares were repurchased on 1 December. EFT of 22.4 were processed in favor of the relevant shareholders. Okay, there is a bit of information that we need to consider before we can get this amount. This one is not just free. Okay, let's see what it is that they wanted us to do. If I see that I'm not given much, I check what is it that I'm given. And I know in most cases, if I were to open a note number 7, that would help me. In this question, they did not require us. Can't we do it on the side as a calculation? Can we do that? Let's do that. So at the beginning, we don't know the shares. We're given a question mark. But we know that these are ordinary shares at the beginning. And the amount thereof was 1,056,000. Okay, that is equal to 1,056,950. 460. Okay, this is your shares at the beginning. And then 200,000 additional. So that means we had shares here at the beginning, then we're coming here to add 200,000. Okay, shares, and we're not told how much we received. Still okay. And then 3,500 shares were repurchased. That means I have a bracket here, and I'm going to put my 3.5 here. Shares were repurchased. Okay, at 22. And this is what we paid. If you remember the top of the triangle, we paid 22,400. So how much? Okay, let's go on. And then they say at the end now, there was 416,700 shares. So at the end here, I'm going to put it here, that at the end, we had 416,700 shares. Okay, this is what we are having at the end here. Okay, this is what we're having at the end there, 416,700 shares. And we're given the rand amount thereof. And the rand amount is your 2 million, that is your 2,354,355. That one we were given. So it means if I take my amount here at the end and the shares at the end, I can get the average price which was used on the repurchase of shares. Okay, so what that means is if I take my 2,354,355, I divide that amount by my 416,700, which is my shares at the end. I can then get the average price that we had at the end, which therefore means the same average price that was used to buy back shares, which is your 2,355, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to divide that by my 416,700. That will give me an amount that is 5 rand 65. So I'll come here, that's 5 rand 65. That means if I were having a triangle, on my triangle, on the left side, the average price would be 5 rand 65. And if I paid 5 rand 65 for the total shares of 3.5, for 3.5 shares, 3,500, how much was the amount that we were going to subtract from the ordinary share capital? So I'll then say 565 multiply by 3,500. That will give me 19,775. 19,775. So if I were to do an ordinary share capital note, I was going to record 19,775 in the ordinary share capital note. However, we paid 22,400. So how much did we pay above the average price? That is what goes to the retained income. So I'd simply come here and say, on my repurchase of shares, how much did we pay? We paid 22,400. What was the average price? It was 19,775. How much then was it above the average price? Therefore, I will simply come here and get the difference. I can just say minus 22,400 like that. And then it's going to give me a negative 2,625. So I can come here, my repurchase is 2,625 in brackets. So this one is a bit different from the one that I did previously. Remember we did the triangle, it was a bit straightforward. But in this one, you have to go to the rand values, and I just wanted to deal with the full amounts so that you can also have a version of that angle. We good? Okay, cool. So let's come now and get our interim dividends. Interim dividends of 40 cents per share was declared and paid on all shares in issue on 1 September. Okay, so how many shares were there in issue on 1 September. It's easy to get the number of shares here at the beginning. We can get that one. Okay, how do we get it? We simply say your 416,000. In other words, you want to get that question mark. You can simply do a calculation going up. Remember, the 3.5 is in brackets because it's a repurchase. Okay, so let's see if we can get that question mark up there. To get that question mark, let's bring our adding machine here. Let's say we start with the 416,700 at the bottom. 416,700. Okay, where are you, Mr. One? There you are. 416,700. And then we're going up. So when we go up, we do opposite of the sign. That means we're going to add plus 3.5. So we add 3.5. That gives us 420,200. And then we do opposite of the 200,000. That means we're going to subtract the 200,000. So we say minus the 200,000. That is then going to give us 220,000 200. Let's do that calculation again. Remember, we want to know how many shares were there at the beginning. All right, we want to know how many shares were there at the beginning. So I'm going to start it again. You there? It's 416,700. You with me now this time? Then we're going to do opposite of the 3.5. That means we're going to add the 3.5. Then we say plus the 3.5. Then we're going to do opposite of the 200. That means we're going to say minus the 200. Minus the 200,000. And that's going to give us 220,200. Remember, we had that figure. So I'm going to bring that 220,200. These were the shares at the beginning on 1 March. These were the shares. And additional shares were issued on 1 April. This is before the interim dividend, because the interim dividend is on 1 September. But the new shares are being issued on 1 April. So by the time we get to September, we did not have the 220,200 only. We had the 220,200 and we had added 200,000 more. So that simply means we had 420,200. How do you get that? You simply add your shares at the beginning plus those that were issued in April, because the interim dividend is in September. So that means I'm going to come here and I'm going to now say, how much is that? That is now going to be, let's do it so that you can see. I don't want you to say, Mr. Simbi, where are you getting these figures? So 220 is at the beginning. Then we issued 200,000. Those ones that were issued on 1 April plus 200,000. Do you see that? That is going to give us 420,200. So I'm going to come here. Let's bring it here now. Let's bring it here. So I'm going to say 420,200. These are now the shares that we have as of the 1st of April. Then we go April, May, June, July, August, and then September we declare interim dividend. How many shares are we having? It's simple. 420,200. Okay. And then we're going to say now, what was the dividend per share? We give it 40 cents times 0.4 times 40 cents. That's going to give us 168,080. So times 40 cents. That's going to give us 168,080. As simple as that. In this one, the final dividend was given, so it wasn't a big issue for us. So I'm going to add these two amounts, and I know I'm going to bring them up there. And what do I call that? And that is my ordinary share dividends. Okay, that's my ordinary share dividends. Interim plus final. Let's add these figures. 168,080 plus 133,080. Like that. How much do we get? We get 301,160. Okay, let's add those figures again. I'm not sure whether it's me or my adding machine. Let's do it again. 168,080. Okay, plus 133,344. Okay, and then we get 301,424. Okay, that sounds a bit correct now. So I come here, that's 301,424. Now we can get our balance at the end. Let's get our adding machines ready and we follow mine. What does it say? 386, 386,040, which is that one. Then we're going to say plus my 593,250. So we're adding that one. Then we're going to say minus 2,625. We subtract that one minus 301,080. 301,424. 424. I'm looking in the wrong place. 301,424. Like that. And then that's going to give me 675,241. Okay, then we are done with this particular activity. Okay, so with this one, I tried as much as possible to avoid doing note number 7. And I just wanted us to do it right from this calculation over here. And I tried to do a mini note 7 here so that you can just see that if the repurchase is the last thing where you have your beginning, you have your issue, addition, beginning, addition, and repurchase. Okay, let me bring it here. Let me explain that here. Let me just get my eraser and do a bit of cleaning here so that you can get my point here. Okay, let's come back. If you have your beginning, you have your addition, and you have your repurchase, which is your bar, B-A-R. Once you have your bar, for you to get the average price, if you are not given the average price over here, you can rely on this figure here. Because once you take your number of shares at the end, divide it by your ordinary share capital, that will give you the very same average price that was used on the repurchase of 3,500 shares. That's basically what we did. We relied on the bar, that if it's beginning, addition, repurchase. If you don't have that repurchase, look at the bottom. If you can't get it at the top, beginning and addition, then look at the bottom. That's what we did. Okay, but you can only do it if it's beginning, addition, then repurchase. Because the other version, which I did last week, and I want you to go and look at it, it's your beginning, repurchase, then addition. The story will be a bit different in that case. So make sure, if you missed last week's class, make sure that this weekend doesn't end before you watch that particular class, because it will help you as you prepare even for your SBA tasks. Okay. Can I go on to the next one? Okay, I think we have another question that we can do some calculations again. Let's do so. Let's do so. Why not? Why not? Activity 3. Are you ready? Okay, I'm ready. Let's do that then. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. The information relates to Swallows Limited for the year ended 20th February 2023. Retained income note again. Okay, but let's see what's unique about this one. Maybe there'll be something different. Who knows? Let's see. So, balance at the beginning of the year, given. What comes next? Aha, it is your net profit. Net profit what, guys? After tax. Net profit after tax. Net profit after tax. Net profit after tax. And then you're given a net profit after tax. Simple. I just bring here 1,526,000 like that. Okay. No hassles, no struggles. Okay. Then we can go on to the next part. All right. So when we come here, here is our retained income. And we are given information. And once I see this, I know that I must do calculation for the repurchase of shares. All right. But in this case, I would want us to do ordinary share capital. Can we do that? Okay, I hear some of you are saying, please, Mr. CB, let's do that. So here's my ordinary share capital. Here's my ordinary share capital. Note number who? Note number 7. This is my note number 7. Okay. So where do I start? I write what I'm given. I write what I'm given. So already I know my shares at the beginning, that's 1,250,000. So I have 1,250,000 shares. Okay, so this is ordinary shares at the beginning. And how much is that? 12,312,500. So it's 12,312,500, like that. That's simple. 180,000 shares were repurchased. Oh, Mr. Triangle, you came too quickly. Okay, you should have waited for us to bring you forth. Okay, but since you're here, we're going to keep you anyway. So shares repurchased, shares repurchased. All right, so this is 180,000. 180,000 shares repurchased. So I'm going to put it in bracket. Put it in bracket. And I know here I'm going to put it in bracket as well. Okay, and then shares repurchased on 1 May, they do not qualify for dividends. Very important. Very, very, very important. An EFT of 1,989,000 was issued for the repurchase of shares. So if I were to divide that by 180,000, if I were to divide that by 180,000, there you are, my friend. Let's say 1,989,000. 1,989,000. Let's see the 3 zeros. 1 0 too many. Okay, 1,989,000. Then we divide that by how many shares? 180,000. Divide by 180,000, like that. That's gonna give me 11 rand 5 cents. That is what we paid. That is what we paid. So that comes to the top, 11 rand 5 cents. That's what we paid. And then shares in issue, we don't know how many shares were issued. They didn't tell us. Okay, they didn't tell us. But here, can I get the average price? Yes, I can now. Okay, so remember, this is beginning and this is repurchase. So I can get my average price just by taking my 12,312,500. I divide that by my 1,250,000. Let's see if that can work. It's my 12,312,500. I divide that by my 1,250,000, like that. And that will give me my 9 rand 85. So I come here, that's my average price. Don't forget that. That's my 9 rand 85. I bring it here on this side then. So I'm going to say 180,000 shares repurchased at, and then I have my 9 rand 85 over there. 9 rand 85. So I'm going to now say 9 rand 85 multiplied by 180,000. How much you get? 177, 3 and 000. That's 1,773,000. 1,773,000. Like that. Okay. So when we're still there, I can get this one now for my retained income. Okay. So for my retained income, I'm now going to say my 11 rand 5 cents. You remember that one. Then I subtract my 9 rand 85. And then that's going to give me 1 rand 20. So I'm going to come here. That's going to be 1 rand 20. So I'm going to come here and I'm now going to say repurchase of shares. Yeah. There you go. Repurchase of shares. Do open bracket? Definitely we do that. How many shares were repurchased? 180,000 shares. How much did we pay? Above average price. 1 rand 20. Beautiful. Beautiful. So I come here, my 1 rand 20, multiply that by the number of shares that were repurchased. That's my 180,000. That's going to give me 216,000. So I come here in bracket 216,000. Once you can do this, all the way to the bank, all the way to the bank. What else do we do now? So we come here and we now bring the addition. The addition. All right. And then how much is the addition? We don't know. But we know that at the end, they told us it was 1,370,000. All right. Shares at the end. And that is equal to 13 million. This one here, 13 million. That is my 13,959,500. We good? Awesome. And then I can get this question mark here. I'm told that there are ordinary shares that were issued at what price? At 11 rand 40. At 11 rand 40. Let's know. Can we get that figure? We can. Calculators, are you ready? Mine is ready. Let's do it together. So if I'm to get that question mark, I can do the bottom up calculation. Remember, starting from the bottom, we go up. So I'm going to have my 13,959,500. 13,959,500. And I'm going to say now plus 1,773,000. 1,773,000, like that. And then I'm going to say minus the 12,312,500. And that is going to give me 3,420,000. So I'm going to come here. That's 3,420,000 that we received from issuing an unknown number of shares, and we sold them at 11 rand 40. How many shares were added? Simple. What do? You take a 3,420,000, you divide that by how much? By your 11 rand 40. By your 11 rand 40. Like that. Okay. How much are those shares? That's 300,000, not 3 million. 300,000. So your ordinary share capital is complete. What did we do? Remember earlier on we did the bar, beginning, addition, repurchase, and we went to the bottom. You remember that one? Awesome. And then this one is now called the BRA. That's the bra. So in other words, we have the beginning, the repurchase, and the addition. So we can start with the beginning, and we can get our average price at the top here to use for the repurchase. We good? Okay, beautiful. And then we did our retained income, and now we are here. Let's see if we can complete this one. Then we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Okay, just a quick 5-minute recess after we complete this one, so you can just stretch your feet, and we continue then from there. We do that. Let's go. Give dividends. This is where we're coming from. Interim dividends. They say an interim dividend of 32 cents per share was paid. An interim dividend of 32 cents per share was paid. To how many shares? Because they say 80,000 shares were repurchased and they do not qualify for dividends. So in other words, it's my 1,250,000 minus 180,000. Minus 180,000. Let's do that. Okay, come here, my good friend. 1,250,000. Then you say minus 180,000. Like that. All right, that's going to give me 1,070,000. So I'm going to come here. My interim dividend is 1,070,000. And how much are we giving per share? 32 cents times 32 cents. Come back. There you are. Multiply by 32 cents. There you go. 342,400. 342,000. 342,400. That becomes my interim dividends. And then to get the end of this question, we're now going to pay our final dividends. They just say final dividends were declared. Remember what I said earlier on about the trial balance. Okay, if you see amounts in the trial balance sheet account section, nominal account section. Okay, in the balance sheet, it's shareholders for dividends, final dividends. In the nominal account section, it's interim dividends. But here we're given an extract of the statement of financial position. This is the balance sheet, and we're given shareholders for dividends. Once you see an amount in the statement of financial position, it's in the balance sheet already, and you see this under your current liabilities. That means it's an amount of money that we as a company are owing to our shareholders. Shareholders for dividends. That's the final dividend for the year. So we are not going to look into the year 2022. No, we don't look there. We look in the year where we are in, the current year, 2023. How much are the dividends that we are owing to our shareholders for this year? That tells us the dividends that we declared to our shareholders for this particular year. That is 575,400. 575,400. Like that. And then, same style. We come here, back to your place, my good friend, and then we say 342, 400, and then we add. What are we adding? 575, 400 plus 575, 400, like that. That's 917, 800. So I'm going to come here. That's 917, 800. Remember, we bracket it. And then we get the balance at the end. That's easy. That's a 629,600. Okay. Even the calculator said, that's an easy one. Okay. So we then come, and if you want to see the typed version, here is the typed version. Then that is our activity number 3. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break, a stretch of feet, so that when we come back, we do more calculations and we look into major shareholding. So, guys, see you in 5. Welcome back, guys. We are going to look at the next activity, which is activity number 4. This is from the Mpumalanga prelim for the year 2023. Okay, and let's see here what we are required to do. So in this one, this is going to be our last activity on ordinary share capital and the retained income. And I tried in as much as possible to cover all the angles that can be brought in by the examiner. So just see, I've tried to cover a number of angles here. Just make sure that you do these calculations, you practice, so that at the end of the day, even the examiner, if they bring in from a different angle, you are able to answer these questions. Okay, so let's see. Here we're going to do the ordinary share capital and we're going to do the retained income as well. And here they say net profit and income tax. There is the information. And let's see what else we're given. We're given the share capital and dividends. Okay, so here's the information. And let's start then with our note number 7. That will make it easy as we go forward. Okay, so it says on 1 March, which is the beginning of the financial year, 40% of the authorized is what? 3 million. 40% of the authorized shares had been issued. So it's 40% of the 3 million. 40% of the 3 million. That means we're coming here. Where's my adding machine? So I have my 3 million. Is that enough zeros? Yes, it is. Then I get 40% of that. And that's going to give me 1.2 million. That means at the beginning, I had 1.2 million ordinary shares. This is at the beginning. And then let's see what they say. On 1 September, this is now after March, the directors paid an interim dividend. Okay, so we're going to come back to that. And then on 1 November, 40,000 shares were repurchased. So that means the next thing I'm going to have here is my brackets. I'm going to have my brackets here. And I know it is 40,000 shares here. 40,000 shares that were repurchased. Then they say they were repurchased at 25%, that is 60,000, above the average price. That means if I'm coming to my triangle, the 60,000 is on the retained income here. The 60,000 is here. And they're telling me that that 60,000 is 25% above the average price. It therefore tells me that my average price in this case will be 100%, which therefore means if I take my 25%, which is the retained income, I add the average price, my repurchase price, the repurchase price here will therefore become 125%. That is what it therefore means. You still with me? Okay, but we're given here the 25% above average price that we paid, which is 60,000. So I think we can get our average price in that case. And I would come here and I'll then say, what is it that we want? We want 100. So I'll come here. We want 100. What is it that we have? We have 25, which is this one here. And then that 25 is equal to the 60,000. So I can close my bracket here, there. And I now say, what is it that I want? I want 100, which is my average. What is it that I have? I have 25. And then I'm going to multiply that by my 60,000. And that's going to give me 240,000. So I'm coming here and I get my 240,000 there like that. We good? Okay. So I just wanted to show you this particular question. You see, from this angle, it's very important that you expose yourself to such questions. And remember here now, so it's beginning and repurchase. So if I have my average price here already, it helps me to get that average. It will be the same. That's what it means. It will be the same. So what was my average price here? I can simply take my 240 here and divide it by my 40,000. That will give me the price at which I paid per share. So if I can come and take my 240, divide that by my 40,000, which is that one, that's going to give me 6 rand. Okay, so my average price at the beginning was 6 rand. Then I'll say 6 times the 1.2 million that we had at the beginning. That will give me 7.2 million. 7.2 million, like that. Okay, I'm not sure what happened here. All the information just disappeared. Okay, but it's not a big issue. Let me see if I can write it back for you. So remember here where the 1 point, or there it is. Okay, so just give me 1 minute, guys, and then I'm going to continue. I think it's a technical glitch. Just give me 1 minute and then I'll come back to you. Let's just take 2 minutes and then we're going to connect again. See you in 2 minutes.
Excellence. Excellence is a habit. Excellence is a quality you have, a quality I have. It's a quality we have when we honor what is true to us. Yes, we are gifted differently. uNkulunkulu akasinganga ngokufana. Excellence is striving for your best. Whenever you have a particular project, test, homework, uzibuze, ask yourself, is this my best? Can I put in more effort? Excellence is striving to be in the top 1% of the area in which you are gifted. And so I challenge you, in every single thing that you do, in every single area that you're gifted in, whether it's sports, it's academic, ucula, whatever that gift is, strive for excellence.
Welcome back, guys. Yes, we had a technical glitch, just a minor one, but all the information is now back. Did I write it? No, I did not write it. We managed to recover it. Okay, so this is what we had done. This is what we had done. So we were now busy trying to say, can I get my average price? Yes, we got the 6 rand, and we ended up now with the 7.2 million here. This is where we were. And then we can now talk about the 300,000 new shares. So come here, is the 300,000 ordinary shares at, we don't know. They just say 300,000 new shares were issued, but we can get this one. How do we do that? We come here, we do the bottom up with our 9 million here, 9,510,000, 9,510,000. We go up plus 240. So we're going up, we add 240. Then we say minus 7.2, minus 7.2, like that. And then that will give us our 2,550,000. So it becomes 2,550,000, like that. And then the question is complete. That's your ordinary share capital. So the interesting parts here were this 25%, which is 60,000 above average price, and we're able to crack that one. Okay, let's see what we'll do if we're to do the retained income note. So if I were to do the retained income note, I would start off with balance at the beginning. All right, and was I given the balance at the beginning? No. And then I'm going to need my net profit after tax. And for my net profit after tax, what did I have? Income tax for the year is calculated at 48. This is 28% of the net profit before tax. So I know that I have my net profit before tax, which is always 100%. Then I have my income tax, in this case is 28%. Okay, and then I'm going to have now my net profit after tax, which would be 100 minus 28, that's 72%. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, what I want is 72. What I have is 28. And then I'm going to multiply that by my income tax, which is my 408,800. Close the bracket. All right. And then if I do that, I'm saying what I want is 72. And what I have is 28. And I multiply that by 408,800, like that, 408,800. and that will give me 1,051,200. So I'll come here, that's my 1,051,200, like that. And then will come, the next part is the repurchase of shares. This one was not a problem because we're given the amount above already. So that's your 60,000 there in brackets. Then the directors declared a final dividend of 7 cents per share to all shareholders on the register. Okay, so it simply means you are looking at the number of shares that we had in the previous question. I think you remember that one was 1,460,000. So I'll come here and then I'll say my final dividend. I had 1,460,000 shares, 1,460,000 shares, which was your 1.2 million here at the beginning. Remember, it was 1.2 million. And then we repurchased the 40, and then we issued the 300,000. So to give us 1,460,000. Then that 1,460,000, what did they say? The dividend is 7 cents per share times 7 cents. We close that bracket. And that would give us an amount that is, remember, that's your final dividend. You get your 102,200. Someone is saying, Mr. Simbi, please, let's do it together. Don't worry. 1,460,000, and then we multiply that by 0.07. That's going to give you 102,200. That. And then we're going to add that coming all the way here. So in bracket, that's going to give me 522,200. And then we do the bottom up to come to the top to get that one. Let's do it together as our last calculation now. It's going to be 793,000. We're going up. Then we're going to say plus 522,200, like that. And then we're going to say plus 60,000. Okay, plus the 60,000 for the repurchase. Then we say minus 1,051,200. 1,051,200 in total. That's going to give us 324,000. So here we're going to end up with 324,000 there, like that. We get? All right. We are nearing the end of our class, and I'm going to introduce something to you which I should have introduced last week, which is very important, which is what we call major shareholding. Major shareholding. When you talk about major shareholding or majority shareholding, it refers to the ownership of a significant portion of a company's shares by an individual or a family. So you can find that in a particular company, there's an individual or a family that holds a significant portion of that company's shares. And then there are two options in calculating whether you're a majority shareholder or not: 51% and then 50% plus 1. There's another one also, 50% plus 100. But for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to be using option A only, 51%. We good? Okay. Calculations then. We have information that we are provided. This is from our NSC June 2023 paper, and it reads: Denise Taylor, the CEO, owned 540,000 shares in the company on 1 March. This is at the beginning. She continued to buy additional shares on the JSE at various times during the year. On 28 February 2023, the end of the financial year now, Denise became the majority shareholder as she then owned 51%. You remember? 51% means you're a majority shareholder. Calculate the total number of additional shares that Denise purchased. Let's do that as we go. Okay, so let's see if we have more information. We're told now, here's information, that on 1 March 2022, the company issued an additional 300,000 shares. On 20 February, there were 1.5 million shares in issue. Okay, so at the beginning, we want to know she owned 51%, but we are being told at this point if we are to calculate the number of shares that Denise purchased when she was holding 540,000 shares, how many shares were there in issue at that time? Okay. And then the next question then is, now that she's holding 51%, how much is those shares? And then we can just do the simple calculation, and then that will make it very easy. But we are told, to make it very simple for us, that on 28 February 2023, there's 1.5 million shares in issue. So if there is 1.5 million shares in issue on 28 February, and we know that she is holding 51%, so we're going to come and say she now has 51%. How many shares does she hold presently now, so that we don't make complicated calculations? So we would say, of the 1.5 million, she currently holds 51%. Okay, that simply means she now has 765,000 shares. So she has 765,000 shares in her possession, because as of 28 February, she has 51%. And as of 28 February, there is 1.5 million shares. So it therefore means that as of 28 February, she has 765,000 shares. So if she has 765,000 shares as of 28 February, yet she was having 540,000 shares, how many shares has she acquired now? How many shares did she purchase? So we're coming here to say 765 minus 540. That is going to give us 225,000 shares. 225,000 shares. So this is what she bought, 225,000 shares. Okay, there was another way in which you could have done it, but this is the very simplest way of getting the number of additional shares that Denise purchased. I'm going to explain it again. As of 28 February, we have 1.5 million shares in issue, and she holds 51%. That means she has 765,000 shares in her possession. Yet, at the beginning, she had 540. So how many shares did she buy for her to move from 540 to 765? She purchased 225,000 shares. That's what it means. The next one. Give one possible reason why Denise was determined to become the majority shareholder. Why did she want to become the majority shareholder? Number one, she wants to have full control of the company, because she'll be having 51%. She'll have full control of the company. Number two, she wants to influence all decisions of the company in the future. Okay, that is another reason why she would want to become the majority shareholder. She wants to address the issue of incompetent directors, influence new appointments who can contribute to the growth of the company. Okay, because now she has influence over decisions, she can also address the issue of incompetent directors. Okay, and she can also influence the appointment of new directors, which therefore impacts the growth of the company. She feels that she can kickstart a turnaround of the current situation, because the company currently is not doing well. So she feels if she can become a majority shareholder, then she can kickstart a turnaround for the company. Let's go on to the next activity then, which is still on major shareholding, which is from the NSC November 2023. Let's hear the question. It reads, identify the effect that the repurchase of Nathan's shares had on his shareholding, percentage shareholding, that is. So we have a person here who's called Nathan, and he has shares in different companies. As you see, that you have a company here that is Guardian Limited, as well as Navara. Now, listen to this one. The repurchase of shares. Nathan convinced the other directors of Navara, which is this one, that the company should repurchase 300,000 of his shares for 3,450,000 on 1 September. Note that interim dividends were paid. So when the shares were repurchased, how did that affect Nathan's shareholding percentage? So we're going to answer that one now. You can see that initially, before the repurchase of Nathan's 300,000 shares, he was the majority shareholder because he had 55.2%. But after that, he is no longer the majority shareholder because he now has 40.2%. But how do I put that in the right way for me to get marks if that is to be questioned? Because you can move from not being a majority shareholder to become a majority shareholder. And you can also move from being a majority shareholder to not being a majority shareholder. But how do I put that in words properly that it can then make sense? Let's go and see. Number one, the percentage shareholding dropped from 55.2%, this is 55.2%, to 40.2%. That is how you can say it. Okay? Or you can say it has dropped by 15 percentage points. Remember, once you do the difference of saying 55.2 minus 40.2, it will give you 15. But you cannot say 15% and leave it like that. That will be incorrect. You have to say 15 percentage points if you wish to leave it like that. But if you wish to make a percentage, then you have to now say 15 divided by 55.2. You multiply that by 100 over 1, and then you get your percentage increase. Okay? And then he is no longer the majority shareholder. His shareholding is now 40.2%. So I wanted to show you how do you explain this. Okay? He's no longer a majority shareholder. He has lost his majority shareholding status. This question can come in two ways. One who's not a majority shareholder become a majority shareholder. One who's already a majority shareholder and then losing his percentage to not being a majority shareholder. So when you do these activities, you have to look at them in all angles. One person who was not a majority shareholder becoming a majority shareholder, and one person who was a majority shareholder losing his majority shareholding status, like Nathan in this particular case. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next activity now. Okay, which is our last activity for the day. This is from the NSC November 2022. Okay, if you guys are ready, let us begin. I know you're looking in your worksheet and you're wondering, okay, I know, but let's go and do this activity. NSC November 2022. And it says, calculate Brent's percentage shareholding. Is this one here. Calculate Brent's percentage shareholding on February 2022. Okay, so in order for us to do that, it's going to be very simple. Very simple. We need to know how much was he holding and how much does he hold now. So we are told that on 1 March there was 1.3 million shares and 240,000 shares were repurchased, and we're then told number of new shares issued to existing shareholders. All right, at 21 Rand. Then C, based on Mike's advice, the directors decided to issue additional shares to existing shareholders at 21 Rand per share. The shareholders were allowed to purchase 10 shares for every 40 shares that they owned. All the shareholders exercised their rights, okay, or this particular right to buy shares. So we want to now know Brent's shareholding as of 28 February. Brent and Flower are shareholders of the company, but not directors. None of their shares were repurchased. So none of their shares were repurchased for these two people. Let's come to Brent. We are focusing on Brent. So here is Brent. Brent at the beginning, on 1 March, had 300,000 shares. Okay, is it 300,000? Yes. Here I have 102 too many here. It's 300,000 shares. So Brent has 300,000 shares at the beginning. And then he has been given the opportunity to buy 10 shares for every 40. So he is going to buy 10 shares for every 40. Okay, there are other ways that you could have done this. You could have simply divided by 40 and multiply by 10. That would have still given you the answer. Okay, so if we say that, we are now saying it is 10 over 40, and we multiply that by the 300,000. That is going to give you 75,000 shares. So he is going to buy 75,000 shares, or he has bought 75,000 shares. Now, since he already had 300,000 shares and he now has 75,000 more shares, how many shares does he have now? 375,000 shares. Since he now has 375,000 shares, we want to know what is his percentage shareholding. How many shares are in issue at the end of the year? 1,325,000. But he holds 375,000 shares of the 1,325,000 shares. We multiply that by 100 over 1. And then we now come and say, there, 375,000, we divide that by 1,325,000. Okay, and then we multiply by 100. That is going to give you 28.3%. So it gives you 28.3%. 28.3%. What does that mean? Remember, he was holding 23.1, but now he holds 28.3%. This is the percentage that Brent now holds. Calculate the percentage that Brent holds as of 28 February. That is 28.3%. Let's go on to the next question. Brent and Karina decided that they'll combine their votes at the upcoming AGM. Explain one possible reason for this decision with figures. So Brent now has 28.3. Remember, it has increased from 23.1 to 28.3. And then Karina holds 26.4. In total, how much is that going to give us? So Brent has 28.3 and Karina has 26.4. In total, these guys have 54.7. In total, they have 54.7. What does that mean? If they combine their votes, they would then end up having the majority of votes. Combining the votes gives them a clear majority of 54.7. This will provide more control over business decisions if they combine their votes. They'll be able to influence decision making. More dividends as they will be proportionate to the number of shares. Long-term perspective of the company's performance. All right. And also, they'll also be able to protect their investment in this case. Okay. As an existing shareholder, explain why you be concerned about the strategy of Brent and Karina. Why would you be concerned of them combining their votes to end up having the majority of votes? They might use their power to benefit the company, or they might have other ulterior motives. Number 2, shareholders will be concerned about their experience, skills, and knowledge. In the case where they are less experienced or they do not have the experience at all, that should be a major concern for shareholders. I'll be concerned if they understand their responsibility as major shareholders. Concerned if they'll provide support to the CEO, CFO, and other directors. concerned if they'll be willing to serve on the board. And gaining control of the company could be a good or aggressive decision. My good friends, we've come to the very end of today's class. It's been lovely having you. It's always a pleasure. Every Friday, I look forward to having you in my class. Thank you so much once again for joining me. Next week, Friday, I'm going to start financial statements, statement of comprehensive income, adjustments. So make sure you don't miss next week's class. Tell a friend to tell a friend that Mr. Simbi will be on next week, Friday, exactly at 2 p.m. I'll be here waiting for you. And then we start calculating. Until next time, cheers and happy studies.